Hey, welcome to the North Idaho Experience. In today's episode, Eric and I sit down with Kyle Farrell. He's a law enforcement officer from the Washington State area. He started over on the west side and now works on the east side in Washington. So we're going to talk about that difference. We're going to talk about his move from Washington to Idaho and what it's like being a cop in Washington as laws have changed over time. Very informative, especially if you live in Washington. You're going to get a lot of information on this as far as understanding how policing works in the Washington side. Also, if you're thinking about making the move to Idaho, he kind of talks through that process of what it looked like for him as he works in Washington and lives in Idaho. So very informative, plus tons of good cop stories from Eric, Kyle, and myself. So hope you enjoy those. And if you guys are thinking about making the move to Idaho, give us a call. Our real estate team is all former first responders, and we specializing in helping conservative families find their freedom right here in North Idaho.
Like everything was all buttoned up. You had to wear like wool pants in the middle of summer.
Yeah, those pants are like $200, over $200 each, dude.
So
Dry clean only, all of it.
What happens if you trashed them on duty?
So I had this caper one time where I got in a scuffle with a dude and like tore my pants, and I was pissed. I was like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
So there was some form we could put into the court, and he had to pay restitution for my pants, dude.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's legit.
It was pretty cool. It took a while to get that money, of course, because he was a shitbag. But
I can imagine.
But I was pretty stoked. I was like, oh, I'm doing this every time now.
I always got really annoyed because if you got into a fight and like I wrecked a pair of Oakleys, I was like, dude, that's what I wear on patrol. And there was like no recourse. It was like, I got to wear them. Like, it's effing. You'll say that I don't have to because you should not block the direct sunlight into your eyeballs.
Good to get like
for
some of your eyeballs, dude.
Some of your one of your weird hippie things, you don't wear sunglasses. But I needed sunglasses, all right?
I wear those. You ever see Eskimo glasses? It's just like, it's shaped out, it's made out of wood, and then they just cut a tiny slit through the middle.
Oh, there you go.
Those are Eskimo sunglasses. I just wear those now.
Can you please wear those like regularly, like to the office? That would just feed right in. When I say you're a hippie, dude, I mean that in the nicest way possible.
I appreciate it.
I respect a lot of that. But dude, just like the podcast we had before with Matt.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Like the supplements people take, the things people do. It's like, dude, there's such a long list. Like that's a thing in and of itself, and you do most of it.
I do, but I got some from that podcast too. I changed a few things. I've started, I've intermittent fasted before, but I'm all in now, dude. I'm like almost at least a week and a half in without eating breakfast.
Yeah.
And I feel really good. So I get that long fast every night. I eat dinner and then I don't eat again until 11 or 12.
My wife thinks I'm nuts. You should try this because you have a crazy one too. I have a crazy daughter. You've got a wild one. So I've started doing the natural light thing. So at night when it's go time, we shut off all the blue light stuff because that's only been a thing for human species for 50, 60 years where we've been able to control that. We naturally, and I've watched the girls, if I flip the lights off, let's say like 8, all of a sudden things start to wind down a little bit. Yeah. They start getting used to it. It's dark outside, right? It's just kind of time to chill and relax. That's
becomes a challenge up here in the summertime when it's daylight until 10 o'clock.
At 4 a.m.
Yeah. Draw the blinds, put them to bed.
Yep.
But no, that's the real deal, dude.
Yeah,
and I get up every day and I do my red light bed.
Is it worth
it?
I
wake up.
So I'm getting a sauna, dude. That's happening.
Okay, good.
Should I put a red light in?
You could, because your VIBA would pay for the red light that you do.
So I've got HRA VIBA, and a doc wrote me a thing that was like, hey, it's a letter of medical necessity based on this, this, and this.
What is VIBA for those that don't know?
Do you have VIBA where you guys are?
Not where I used to.
Yeah.
I cashed it out on medical stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
So it's essentially like a medical account. You essentially got a little credit card, and you swipe it every time you go to the doctor, or like you said, if you need a
mic here, bring it
right in the grill,
right in the middle.
That's my spot there.
So if you need some kind of medical, whether it's a sauna or whatever, you get signed off by a doctor, and you just swipe the card. And
is it tax free? Is that the benefit of it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's tax free.
Because we lobbied for that when we negotiated. Cities seem to like it, or agencies seem to like it because it's a tax-free contribution.
So it's like an HSA, health savings account?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it just covers overages. So if it's like a copay or a medication that you can't get fully covered or whatever procedure, you can use that HRA VIBA. For those out there listening that are considering a jump with, if jumping agencies or lateraling or getting into law enforcement out here, Coeur d'Alene PD has HRA VIBA. County does not. I think city's the only one that does.
Yeah, I've only heard of cities doing it.
Right. Man, and it's still a consideration because some are out there like, oh, I'm on my wife's medical or I'm in the reserves or whatever. It's an even bigger benefit if you already have health insurance because the city will kick you like $850 a month. That's what I did. I had this big account because I was in reserves the whole time. So that's a sweet benefit. And like I said, cities like it because it's it provides a ton of value to the employees, but it's all tax-free for them.
And now it's cool that now you can use it for things like sauna. Like that's being recognized as an actual health benefit.
Yeah, there's a bunch. There's a bunch of like mail.
What else can you weasel out of that?
I'm going to try a hot tub, dude. We're going to see how that.
No, all that crippling back pain that you have from wearing a duty belt.
massages.
Yeah,
absolutely.
From carrying the team, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big deal. You're about to carry it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's true. While you guys are off on vacation. God, I forgot about that. It's going to be a wild couple weeks. They're taking the whole office to Australia, and I'm behind. Ooh, I'm the man left behind. That's the way it's going to go.
The other 4 owners are gone.
Yeah, you're welcome for
2
my
weeks.
service. They did this to me last year. It's like my first week, and they're like, "Dude, we're out of here. Where'd you guys go?"
You got this. Some
like
cruise somewhere. Yeah,
that was a wild
that's
week.
when I think we first connected.
Yeah, I was with you guys almost the whole. Dude, I was out until like 8 every night that entire week. It was nuts. It was a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed my vacation.
Yeah, you're welcome for my service. I've not said that enough this week. Actually, it was a good time to have drill. You guys were painting the office.
Yeah, you missed out on. I painted 8 hours straight on Saturday.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Does it look pretty good though?
It looks great.
Good.
Yeah, we still got a few, trim crap to button up, but
since I wasn't there, I'm going to go and critique the living hell out of it.
You should. We did a primer coat over everything. You were there for that.
Yeah.
And then we did 2 coats on everything else. So good luck finding the.
Make sure you bring your blue tape.
Blue tape, my man. That's right. I don't want any freaking drywall boogers up there, dude. And I heard Austin was in there in a cowboy hat and just his underwear painting.
Yeah, that's accurate. That's how he rolls.
He's got good genes, dude.
Did you hear that Austin and John have figured out where Sydney Sweeney's property is on Spirit Lake? They did some excellent police work here. I'm going to give them some credit on this. And there was some tracking and some paying attention to some keywords and figured out the LLC that this property is under. And so they have a plan this summer. They're going to go out in canoes or kayaks or something, and then be offshore.
With binoculars.
In distress, needing someone to come save them.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she'd be disappointed. They're both, I can say this, I'm married. They're both rather attractive men, so I think she'd be okay.
That was like right at 49%, dude.
Yeah, that was 49.
I know you struggled to say that both those men were attractive. Just go with it, dude. We all know.
Bastards.
We all know.
Anyway.
No. So cool to get you on.
Yeah.
You were. Look, we end up trashing Washington a fair amount in here, and I'm gonna go know it because I grew up in Spokane, so I can talk a little bit of shit. And we had my mom on the podcast. She was 25 years SPD, and it still pains me to see the shithole that it's turned into, that it's been allowed and encouraged to turn into. But yours is a little unique because you were on the west side.
Yep.
For how long?
I was there, lateraled there, or I should say back in 2013.
Yeah.
So I started originally in Georgia.
Oh, really?
2011, yep.
Oh.
Interesting. So you were cop there for 2 years.
Yep.
And then you were Sammamish?
No. So came back to Washington, was city of Kirkland. Was there for about 5.5 years, and then I lateraled to Snohomish County.
Yeah.
I've always felt like the city of Kirkland is where Costco is from. Am I wrong on that?
It's Kirkland. I don't know if there's a direct.
Okay.
I get what you're saying.
Is that Costco headquarters?
I think the headquarters actually in Issaquah.
Yeah.
How big is it?
Well, it'd make more sense if it was in Kirkland.
How big is Kirkland?
It's probably, it's probably about the size, I'd say 2 times the size of Coeur d'Alene.
Okay.
That's pretty big.
How many officers?
Now, I don't know.
Yeah.
Back then, it was probably 50-ish, 60, somewhere around there.
Geographically, where's that located in reference to Seattle?
So you know where Lake Washington is?
Roughly.
So it's just east of Seattle on the lake.
Okay.
So it has quite a few to coastline there.
Okay.
And it's more ritzy. It's got its rough areas, so to speak, but it's more ritzy than anything.
It's kind of like Bellevue.
Yes.
Kirkland and Bellevue are
they
like
butt right next to each other.
Yeah, so. They're like really high end. But even the spillover now is getting into Bellevue and Kirkland. And
it goes all the way. It went all the way up to Snohomish County. That was a big problem. Was when I was in Snohomish County, we'd get all the bad guys from South Seattle, Tacoma would come all the way up. we had a lot of issues with smash and grab on the marijuana shops. So they'd drive a stolen car right through the front door, steal what they could. And then there would be 2 other stolen cars. They'd get in and then leave that one stolen car literally in the building.
Right.
And it was happening almost nightly for a while up there.
Really?
And it's weird because you think, oh, we'll stake out this shop. Well, 5 miles down the road, they hit one. I'm like, God, how are we going to get these guys if we're never on top of them?
It goes back.
That's a bold move, too.
Yeah, dude, you've heard me say it here several times, and you and I have rallied about it when I was talking about police work here. It's luck.
Yep.
You have to be in the right place. Like, you're not going to catch them that way. You know how you catch them? You catch them proactively doing other illegal shit. Like, you catch them with meth or fentanyl in their pockets, and you have to have a state that, or local area, or judges that will actually hold people accountable.
Or you catch them rolling in that stolen car right out the gate. But did you guys have a no pursuit policy over there?
So that's the problem, right? So we had a policy where it was pretty much any felony, including DUIs. And then it happened, right? And then we had the statewide, you couldn't pursue unless you had probable cause, which we all know it takes a minute to establish that. You see the dude driving by, I'm like, okay, well, see you later, even though he just robbed a store or whatever. So that was very tough. You saw crime rate go up massively. It was a big problem. Finally, enough citizens complained and lobbied. We got it back to where it was essentially any crime, but we still have parameters that we have to follow in the state. Over there in Snohomish County, we had a sheriff that got elected right before, who was awesome. He was a patrol sergeant for years. He is definitely one of those guys, when he says he has an open door, he has an open door. So even when he got elected, if he was in a meeting and you needed to talk to him, he would talk to you. He would find a way to, like, hey, guys, I got to take this for a sec. And when I got promoted over there, I'll never forget, I got brought into a room, and they had asked me, well, where do you want to go? And I said, well, at the time we had a transit unit. So I worked with all the buses and whatnot, and because we had a lot of homeless and drug problem at the stops. Well, he's like, where do you want your career to go? I said, I want to emulate myself like Sheriff Fortney. And he's like, well, why? And I kind of laughed. I'm like, did you really just ask me that? And this guy's a lieutenant, right? And it was funny because growing up in the career, you see all the older guys, doing badass stuff. And then you get to Washington, and it's like, oh, time out. You can't do that. I'm like, well, case law says I can. But when you get to a different state, obviously state trumps federal, which blows anybody's mind who doesn't understand that.
Right.
So I'm, explaining, how I want to be after, take my career after Fortney. And he's like, oh, okay. This guy, when I say he was a cop's cop, he literally... I'll never forget, we had a scene where we thought we had a barricaded subject, and we surrounded the house. He shows up because he was working nights and I was working swings. He's like, hey, Farrell, what do you got? And I explain it. He's like, okay, what do you need me to do? He didn't take the command post position like most supervisors will. He got in there. He wanted to get his hands dirty. And it was awesome because when he got elected, it was him, his undersheriff, and I believe one of his captains or a couple of his captains would work the road still. One day a month would still work a road. And I'll never forget, the midnight he got sworn in on New Year's Day, we were working. We had 3 pursuits that night, and they were involved in 2 of them.
Nice.
And
that's the example of leadership right there.
So, and I always bring this up, like,
sounds like Brett.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Brett still goes and works the road too.
Yeah. And I always bring up the example of what's the difference between a boss and a leader. A boss tells you what you can do, what you can't do, how you can do it, when you can go to the bathroom. Whereas a leader, they lead by example. If you're having issues with something, it's like, well, let's figure this out together. Let me help you. And when I was in Georgia, I had a sergeant who it was called the Fine Unit, which was basically drug detection. They went up and down the highways and had a lot of drug busts. Well, he was very, very good at getting people to talk. If they didn't talk to us, he could get them to talk for hours, right? And I'll never forget, we had a traffic stop. He put on we used to have Mount Me hats. He put on his little Mount Me hat, put it right above his eyes there, and he walked up the car and just got him to talk. And I think he found some marijuana, but just the way he could get people to talk, was just phenomenal.
It's the hat, bro.
Yeah.
I was
It
gonna
has to
say
be,
the
yeah.
hat's very intimidating.
That was my skill set, man.
That was definitely your skill set.
The
You're still
ability
good at that.
the ability to build rapport with people that you don't necessarily like connect with, right? Like that is a skill in and of itself, and it's more valuable. I used to, when it came to patrol, I used more of the skill sets I learned as a recruiter than I did anything else in the military. Like you'd think it's being able to handle yourself and austere and permissive, not get stressed out, and the ability to shoot and handle yourself in a fight, whatever. Like those are valuable, but the crap you do as a recruiter where you're building rapport with people from all walks of life, that is far more valuable.
Really hard when you're deeply opposed to, like, say you get in a room with a chomo and you have to build rapport.
Yep.
That's where it becomes impressive because, your insides are boiling and you want to choke them to death. But you have to, like, hey,
Dude,
you're not a monster.
Oh, man.
Go that game.
Marginalize and minimize what they did. I told you about the one I had, dude. That was terrible.
That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, sitting in the ER for 3.5 hours just talking to this guy and telling him, yeah, dude, you were helping, blah, blah, blah. Like all the crap. And you feel so dirty.
Yeah.
You feel so dirty. But the motivation is, and that little girl has to testify, right? She never has to experience. It sucks.
Well, it's almost like the movie, what is it, Sound of Freedom? The trafficking.
Yeah.
And just the, how the, was he a DEA agent or whatever he was?
Yeah.
Just, I'm here for you. I feel the same way for you.
Yes.
It just, when I was in Kirkland, unfortunately, we had a abuse case like that. The stepdad was abusing the daughter for years. She was, I think, 15 at the time. It started when she was like 8 or so. And I'll never forget my partner, after we arrested him and whatnot, he had interviewed him. He wasn't a detective yet, but he literally sat there for hours like you did. Yeah. And he built this rapport where the suspect had a connection with him and just spilled everything. Like it was, if he was talking to his brother.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff he told me as a dad, it just, it makes your blood boil.
Well, it was cool. And again, I'll give them credit that ER nurses working that night knew what was happening, and they kind of kept the doc out, because he was on a PC hold, and that's all we had. Yeah. So they kind of knew what was going on, and they just kept everything clear because I was getting somewhere, and by the end of it, I had all of it, but dating back to a different state in all the different ways, and you just walk out and you're like, no. You just feel
disgusting.
Oh, and they saw them when I walk out. They're like, "Did you get it?" I was like, "Yeah." And you just feel so gross. And like I'm sure it was just on my face.
Oh yeah.
It's like, man, some of the ones where you like go into a domestic and you get into a fight, or you're pulling a tweaker out of a car and you get into a fight, like those are physically exhausting. I guess it's nothing compared to those types of conversations.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you get that. I hate to say it, but you get that release of. All this energy is built up. If you get to fight somebody, at least it goes somewhere, right?
Yeah, this you can't do anything.
No, you're just gonna
have to sit with it.
Yeah. That was a rough deal. I remember he kept looking at the body camera, and he's like, they kept looking. Is it the body camera, dude? He's like, I said, I'll take it off, and I never hit stop record. I just went and set it on the table. Yeah. So then we still said, I'll take it off, dude. You and I can just talk like this, and just set it on the table. It was off to the side. Yeah, it's wild, dude. I want to go back to, when was weed legalized in Washington?
Oh, God, it was legalized. God, it's been years.
Was it after California? It was probably after.
I think it was after California.
Yeah. They didn't learn.
Was it already legalized when you went there in 2014?
I don't think so. I can't remember the date. It's like you said, it's been a hot minute, but it was always kind of like, it's just marijuana.
Yeah, it was decriminalized, but I just don't remember when they legalized, because you're talking about the smash and grabs at dispensaries.
Yeah.
Dispensaries did bring a lot of crime. I mean,
they did.
Even on the east side, and it was a lot of those. I mean, I remember on this side, it kind of had some spillover into Idaho, but a dude like cut somebody down like he was the freaking Highlander at a dispensary in Spokane County.
With a sword?
Oh, yeah. And then Fancello stopped that same guy. We had no idea he was the homicide. At that point, they didn't know. It was a week later, and Fancello's on camera with this other. He's like, oh, the sword's kind of cool. Like you can see in this dash cam. But he kept telling me, he goes, this guy never chilled out, man. Like the whole time. And he found him with a little bit of weed. It was not a big deal. But he said once he found it, and he's going through and he's looking at the guy, and the guy never chilled out.
Yeah.
Like usually, once you tap that consequential stimulus, you can watch people's parasympathetic nervous system chill, right? And once you find it, you're like, all right, cool. Now I know what I got. Mm-hmm. But you keep your haunches up when they don't chill out. Yep. You're like, all right, this isn't it. Like there's something else you're.
The frustrating ones, and I've had a few where you never find it.
I know.
And there's
And you know you
and
missed
you're
it.
like,
Oh, you know you missed something.
I don't know. I'm out.
Body concealing, bro. It's always body
And
concealing.
I'm not necessarily willing to go there. So
Yeah. Well, in this one, it was because he had freaking
yeah,
sorted
makes
somebody
you wonder,
down,
man.
dude.
How many of those have we missed? Oh goodness.
But yeah, thinking about dispensaries, I think they did bring some crime. Like you're talking about these smash and grabs, because you went there in like 2014, and I rally about Washington crime rates all the time.
Yeah.
In 2014, when you went there, Washington was ranked 30th out of 50.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, when you consider, because Tacoma's rough, Seattle's rough.
That whole South King County.
Yeah,
County.
that's a shitty area, and it's been crime ridden for a while. But 30th out of 50 isn't bad.
No.
And now
We're top 5, top
fourth.
4.
We're fourth in the country. Washington. Well, we aren't.
Don't say we.
Idaho's 50th.
Yeah.
No big deal. No, but you because I always want to go back and look at what policies changed in that time that would have led to that.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
were
definitely the marijuana, but then I think it just messed everything up.
Yeah.
The whole George Ford stuff.
Summer of Love.
Yeah. So it's tough, right? You have this incident that happened nowhere near Washington, and they're just reacting to a situation that might happen here, maybe. So it was tough, like I said, the whole pursuit thing. And then we, as you know, as law enforcement, we go to mental health calls all the time. We weren't going to those unless we had a court order signed by a judge. So, the DCRs that would show up, oh, we need to detain this guy. Nope, not doing it. We don't have anything signed by a judge.
Wow.
And so it was essentially just hands off. It was just reactive policing. There was no proactive. And it was tough, right? It's coming from Georgia, where we literally would chase you for throwing your cigarette.
Georgia's infamous for
Dude, it was awesome, right?
Georgia Highway Patrol,
was-
those dudes don't play.
No. You out there was you could search the car, searching it to arrest. Here, timeout, guys.
Really?
Oh yeah, nope, off limits.
Really?
Wow.
'Cause I thought so. Georgia must have had that specifically for Georgia because Gant killed it for everybody.
What
Right.
year was that? Because I don't know. I've been out of the game a bit, but
Oh, Gant was before I was a cop.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
been
that.
around for a while.
Yeah,
no,
where-
because we would search incidental arrest, and then we'd do the vehicle inventory when we're
yeah. That's so.
Well, I have a funny story about that too.
Yeah, inventories you can still do, but yeah, Gant essentially just said, because we used to be able to search incident to arrest, and one dumbass cop testifying, "Why'd you search the car?" "Because I can." Judge is like, "Oh,
Thanks,
oh,
guy."
copy that." Like, boom, now it's gone.
Yeah.
Just freaking prepare for court. All right, that shit's important. You're impacting the rest of us. Yeah, but
Yeah, and in Georgia, they had canines that would sniff the cars, and that was your PC. As long as they alerted, you're good to go.
yeah,
Out here, it's just crazy. You got to write a search warrant. You want to get a dog to sniff because it adds to the search warrant. The only time you can really search a car is if they're essentially destroying evidence or digging for a gun. That's about it, and it's only their immediate area. Everything else is
lunge area.
insane. Is there an expedited process to get a search warrant if you're
It
on
depends
scene?
on the case. If it's a murder case or something like that, then yeah, it's going to be expedited. But if it's just
So you're just making a traffic stop, and you're
plain view.
plain view,
Yeah.
you see some stuff, and you get them out of the car, and the dog alerts. Like, you got, I think it was 10 days to search it. So
Dude, it's wild though. But think about that.
That's a whole different game than I was working.
'cause Idaho's still very much plain view. You can search the car based on probable cause. Plain view, plain smell, dog alert, any of that stuff. You can still search the car. But even in Montana, it's that way. Montana, like I said, everybody thinks it's very beneficial for proactive. They're almost so, because I hate the word constitutionalist because I'm a constitutionalist, but they're almost so far that way it reduces the proactive ability. So you go and you plain view it, and then you have to immediately go get a search warrant. Same way over there.
That's insane.
You're pulling a patrol guy off the street for 5-6 hours.
Right.
I don't care if they say it's expedited, over the phone, telephonic warrant. Although, shout out to a judge in Boundary County. I got one literally over the phone for a house. It was amazing.
yeah, so
then-
what we can do, so if it's something where we need to get in that house, there's on-call judges.
Yeah.
So you write up the warrant as quickly and professionally as you can, and then call the judge and wake him up and get it signed.
I gotta talk to my boys in Cali. I don't know what currently is going on there, but it was super easy back when I was working.
Like
Graves.
blood warrants for DUIs, those are super easy. That's just a template you fill out.
Yeah, we had that.
Call them and do and whatnot.
But I remember when we didn't even need those. It was
Well, you still have voluntary blood, but it's depending on the department, they would rather have you get a search warrant because it's cleaner.
right.
So That just depends.
But that's I'm always looking at it and analyzing that because I don't want Idaho to get that way. So, what policies shifted within the state in that 2014 window that we went from 30th to 4th?
I don't know if it was then, but it was definitely, I think it was the big deal breaker.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the statistics, I think crime went up 110%. And even still, changing of the governors, that was a big factor in crime. Letting these guys out who are, convicted for murder, violent assaults, they're doing good time, so they get released. They're doing what they did.
Right.
So it's tough being a cop in Washington because sometimes you feel like you're not supported, whether that's command staff or even from Olympia.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to be proactive certain times, just because, is this going to get me in trouble? But the thing is, if you're not proactive, like you said, how are you going to prevent crime?
Right.
We can't just sit at a station and 911 call, let's go. Yeah. That's not preventing anything.
No, you're just cleaning up at that point.
Taking paperwork for insurance companies.
Yeah, but in fairness, if you know that you're either agency, your individual agency, or the state's not going to have your back, when you're proactive, you're knocking on the devil's door.
Yep.
Like that's the whole. I encourage my guys. My phrase. I say, go out and be a shark, because it's hard to commit crime when you're looking over your shoulder all the time. I want them to know there are sharks out here.
Yep.
But it's hard because if the agency is either passively or actively minimizing that or trying to reduce proactive policing, it's pretty easy to do it.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because you end up in more uses of force. You end up in more reviews, and they will hammer you. So it's tough. I get why cops over there aren't proactive. At the end of the day, elections have consequences, and citizens have asked them to be less productive based on the way that they vote.
That's very true. It comes down to liability, right?
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, especially in Washington, with how the laws read and whatnot, a lot of command staffs, it doesn't matter where you work, are very conscious about liability.
Right.
Growing up in a police family and then becoming a police officer, it was, you run, we're going to chase you.
Yeah.
We're going to hold you accountable for your actions.
Right.
And then obviously switching to Washington, where it's like, well, time out. What's the risk to the public? Yeah. Ironically enough, when you ask the question, give me a definition of what the risk to the public is. And you're like, you get the ho-hum, like, oh, well, what if this happened? We can what if any situation, right? Until we're blue in the face. But if you continue to let criminals run, they know they can get away with anything. So what are we doing by letting them run? We're letting them get out there and commit more crime, and they don't have any consequences.
Man, I could put on both hats for that, right? As a sergeant, I was slowly but surely sort of converted when it came to pursuits, especially in the city. The city, our speed limits are 35 miles an hour. Yeah. Everything is residential. Do I think that we should blow through red lights at 120 to chase somebody that was like he's got a burglary warrant? Without having more circumstance, probably not, especially if I know who he is. There's a lot of factors that come into it. Do we know who the guy is?
Yep.
Can we get him later with like a SWAT team or an element or something like that? My kids drive on that road. If they're blown by a school, man, the last thing you'd ever want to see is somebody that innocent be harmed. So I can see parts of both, but there are other ones where you're 95 southbound going into Worley and there's absolutely no traffic, and this guy almost head on somebody with a deuce. That's different to me. He's going to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I fully agree with that. I that always made me super nervous, dude. I was watching a dash cam video of one of my dudes I worked with one time, and he was chasing somebody through the city and cross traffic. Bad guy blows through the intersection, and then a car comes between the bad guy and the patrol car, and he's pretty close, and just everybody just missed each other. And
luck.
He was watching. He's like, I honestly don't even remember that happening, and I'm like, God,
dude,
dang,
what blew me away? I got into a pursuit in Coeur d'Alene right when I came from county. So county had lighter pursuit policy, and I was new to the city, and one of my boys, who may or may not have been on this podcast, was working this angle, and he had a real bad guy, and the guy had warrants, and there was dope involved, of course, and he said, hey, can you help me out? Just do an initiated, black and white stop in the city. was like, yeah, dude, I got you. And really didn't know that much, except he was a bad dude. He gave me the safety stuff. But he said, I got PC. I whipped in behind him, and I stopped him like right at Government Way, just south of Appleway. And it's like 3:30 in the afternoon, 3:30. Traffic all over the place. I pull up. Canine unit with county pulls up like this, like it's a felony stop. And I was like, all right, we're going to rock it like this because it all happened pretty fast. Dude takes off. He immediately calls out in pursuit and says, K42, can you assist? And I was like, yeah, I'm in. I knew our policy. I could assist another agency. Dude, we are ripping through the city. And I refused. I'm not going to leave him behind. I knew I was going to eat it, but I'm not going to leave him behind. I knew both of his kids. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be the one to stay. I'm going. I'm in. Yeah. And my FTO is with me, and he and I are very much like-minded. We're on 2 different radio. It's a shit show, dude. We're on city's radio. We're on county's radio. My sergeant has no idea what's going on. I went back and watched video, and, dude, we're blowing like 3rd, 4th, and we're going east. And when I went back and watched that, well, long and short of it, he pulls into a neighborhood that was a dead end. He bails out and goes running. The canine gets open deployed in this neighborhood, which
those are the best.
But it was, that dog was an animal. Convinced that day he kept me from getting shot. Long and short of it, I go running up. My FTO says, hey, get the house number and call it out. So I run back real quick, call out the house number where we were. And as I'm going, they go this way, and there's a couple of houses and a duplex. I was like, I think he's going to double back. So I went around here, and I'm walking up to the corner of a house, and it's over here on 7th, and you just get like the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. So I got my gun out, and I'm just pieing it. I'm just pieing the house. And as I'm breaking the threshold, he gets hit. He gets hit by a pogo, the canine. He gets hit right here, and he had a gun out like this, and he was doing the same thing.
Classic, dude.
Same thing on that corner. And he got smoked, and then the gun went flying and all that. But point of that is, when I went back and watched video, I flew by a school bus, and I had no idea. Yeah. I don't remember it. It didn't register. Man, because you get that one scared me, and because you just it can go so bad, so fast in the city. And in thinking back, we knew who he was. There's no amount of dope that's worth one of your kids. You know what I mean?
It's tough because some guys are just dogs, dude, and they don't give a shit, and they will chase. And I get it, but I agree.
So I I prefer foot pursuits.
Oh, see, I'd rather be in a car than.
No, but foot pursuits can be really dangerous too. Oh, yeah. But
less dangerous to the public.
Yes, exactly. It's just on me. But
yeah, it also traffic plays a big part of it. Time of day. Are we going to chase the third suspect at 2:00 in the afternoon? Probably not.
Yeah.
But come midnight, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when there's nobody on the road.
Game on.
What's the rest of the public?
I know. You sent me a couple pictures. You like pursuits.
Oh, yeah. I got really good at pitting cars. Yeah. And so our motto was pit early, pit often over there. So it damaged a few cars. Yeah. But at the time, actually right before Sheriff Fortney over there got elected, I'll never forget his undersheriff that he got up there. I had to get a ride to the shop to get a new car because I just rammed a kidnapped suspect, just punched his tire, right? Yeah. So I told my car, he's like, we don't care if you mess up a car as long as it's for a good cause. I'm like, okay, awesome.
Sweet.
So kind of from that point on, when Fortney got elected, we were chasing everything.
Yeah.
There was a few, like you said, there was a few that probably shouldn't chase right now. Some cars got wadded up, and so he kind of pulled back the reins to, I think it was any gross misdemeanor and above, which was still pretty much anything. And a lot of guys got good at pitting because he just wanted you to pit early, pit often.
It makes a ton of sense, though. Like, public thinks it's a ram. A ram is not
totally
a pit.
Different.
A ram could be a justifiable use of force,
100%.
but that's damn near lethal, like especially at high speeds. Mm-hmm. But I watched a trooper. He called out the stop and pit them within 3 seconds. Yep. And it was that fast, and it was getting. I know he's going to run. I know he's going to do it. So he got into a position, and then boom! Right then and there.
That's
and then
awesome.
Then I found the guy under because he ran. It was right by the Ramada, and I found him under a parked car up there. And that was a good time. But I watched that and said, man, that's really effective. And there's no damage to the car, very little.
No, if you do it right, there's literally no damage. Often, when you're going above 50, there's probably going to be a little bit of scratches sometimes. Yeah. But typically there's not much damage. And even this new agency I'm with, I had a pursuit a couple months ago. It was my beat partner's first pursuit he had.
Yeah.
And called it out. And I think I pitted the car within 45 seconds. Yeah. And unfortunately, it spun out, but he got going again and went to a dead end. We ended up getting him. But, it's just it's a great technique to have in their back pocket, especially, you know, having spikes and whatnot around.
Right.
So it's hard to get used to at first because you're like, ooh, I'm touching this car with my car. It's a weird sensation, right?
Right.
But it's very effective if it's done right.
It's so much damn fun.
Yeah.
It is so much freaking fun. I mean, it is. I mean, pursuing a righteous pursuit may be the most fun thing in law enforcement.
Yeah.
Well,
And
it's scary, but it's legit.
and everybody
No rules.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And everybody asks, well, what's it like being in pursuit? And I'm like, have you ever seen the movie, the very first Fast and Furious, where they hit the NOS button and they're just going 140, but you can see clearly like things as you pass them.
Yeah.
So like you said before, you get the tunnel vision, but if you just look to the side to get a street sign, it's like crystal clear. It is the weirdest thing.
Oh yeah,
I'm
because you get
your
dialed.
sensors your sensors are heightened, so it's just
yeah.
it's weird. Going 130, you know, down, you know, I-5 or whatever. I'm like, oh, I can read that sign. It's just weird.
I always got locked in, like you could see them in the rearview mirror, like looking, and I can just like focus on their eyes, and I'm like judging what they're like, how deliberate their intentions are, and like what they're thinking and feeling.
Brake lights were the biggest thing working the graves.
Yeah, it was
Off the brake. Oh, brake lights. Oh, he's gone.
Yep.
You guys ever have any fatals out of pursuits?
I have no. I have yet to have a pursuit that ended in an injury to a civilian. Knock on wood. I hope it never happens, but there has been, and I bring up anytime we talk about this, whether any department, I think the statistics, it's like less than 5% in Washington.
Yeah.
They're dangerous. Yes, they are dangerous. But I feel like it's a necessary thing for law enforcement to do.
We had a couple. Our town, it was notorious. Not any that I were involved in, but my partners. I had my boy Troy was chasing a dude on. We had dudes on crotch rockets all the time.
Oh yeah,
freaking shitbags. And he's chasing this dude down the road. Guy hits a telephone pole, absolutely splits the bike in half, and just annihilates his body. And he's rolling down the road, and Troy is at this point next to his body as it's rolling down the road, and like almost ran over the body too. That was a wild one.
Yeah.
And we had another one. Dude crashed. He was over 100 on a bike, and he got like air launched. He ended up with a colostomy bag. And then there was another one. I think this was the city we were in. This guy was this was crazy. He was running from the city. He had a Chihuahua like in his jacket, and just straight ran into the front of a school bus, and it killed the Chihuahua too. It like smashed it against his chest. Wild. Yeah,
that is pretty wild.
Yeah, you know the good stuff. That comes
I've
out
had
of
a couple where it was like they've gotten injured.
yeah,
right,
they've definitely.
Don't run on a motorcycle, kids.
Man, where a guy like a car's just flipping and he just gets ejected out of it.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one. They are though, man, but you have to be able to do them. Even those agencies that are kind of, I don't want to say anti-pursuit, but have really restricted the time you have to train because that time that you need it, man, you better be PIT certified and you better have a plan. And, and departments out there, one thing with ours that I was pushing for when I was we got to practice spikes more often. We have to practice that because a lot of cops get killed throwing spikes.
Yes,
and we have to practice that because when we need it, I know our pursuit policy is restrictive, but you're going to have a homicide suspect or a kidnapping. We've had all of those, right? Those are still going to be righteous pits and righteous spikes.
Are awesome.
Yeah.
My partner and I were chasing this dude, and it was actually a pretty slow speed pursuit, and then Chico PD, which was in our area, they I didn't even see the officer throw the spikes. It was perfect. All four tires, and then he was just on rims.
Yeah.
Times.
There was a couple times on Cat, we'd use those little sharks. Those little
the piranhas.
Yeah,
those
you
are
just
awesome.
walk up,
I didn't even have that.
like you're the second or third.
Oh, you just stick it under the wheel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it
about
goes-
this big, and
cool.
you literally just kind of put it right in front of the wheel, and it explodes.
Yeah.
They work awesome.
Yeah, just in case if you got those ones that are like, oh, they're gonna run, they're gonna take off.
So sad. One time I had this opportunity to spike somebody. I was coming back from training, so I think it was an unmarked car. But anyway, I had a spike strip, and officer was calling it in. He's southbound on Highway 70 in Butte County, Northern California, and it's like it's a white Explorer, and I'm like, I'm picturing like a shitbox Explorer, right? And we had white Explorers on our office too. So I'm like, I'm all set. I'm like, I have plenty of time. I'm behind a guardrail. I'm like, good to go. And I see this white Explorer, and I'm like, God, it's like brand new. I'm like, no, that can't be. That can't be. And he's doing 100 plus. And by the time I was like, it's the shit bag right there, and I threw it. It was like a second too late. Dude. I was so bummed.
Yep.
Spikes
That was a tough one, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hit one of our partners rolling though. So
I've hit our own spikes plenty of times.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a pursuit one
easy.
night. Found this DUI. I mean, he was just crazy all over the road. We're going down. It's 4 or 5 over there, doing about 110. I had a guy, actually, ironically enough, set up just before Kirkland with spikes. And I was driving my supervisor's car because I had just gotten in a chase not too long ago, and they had to fix the bumper. So I was borrowing her car. And so it was a slick top. And so I'm chasing him, and all of a sudden my buddy's like, yeah, I got spikes up here. So I back off. Well, unbeknownst to him, he didn't see my lights. And so spike misses the spikes and hits me. And all of a sudden I get the little warning light coming on, ding, ding, low tire pressure. I'm like, mother, come on.
Come
really?
on, bro.
You spiked me.
Yeah.
All 4 tires. I'm pull over.
That happens all the time.
So
Dude.
it
it
just,
sucks.
We bought 2 civilians a new set of tires because
yeah.
we spiked somebody and then forgot to pull them. So the next car just goes whack, 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 whack. We bought some new tires.
yeah, that's happened quite a few times.
Simpson got a pretty decent one. So what made you want to leave Western Washington?
Unfortunately, Fortney lost the race this past, year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I kind of saw the writing on the wall. Things shifted a lot when it came to command staff and being supportive and whatnot. And then, obviously, the laws in Washington State, not just for police work, but for, schools.
That's a big one, man.
Yeah, the city we lived in had a kitty litter box in the boys' bathroom in the middle school. And they were catering to all that crap going on, and the wife's like, we're done. We're leaving. We're not putting our kids through this, or we're going to homeschool. And my parents had moved to Otis Orchards just before, and that was the closest set of grandparents that our kids have. And so we made the decision. It was either Idaho or Florida. We have some good close friends in Florida, and I was actually about to go to Florida. I'd already signed up for the Lateral Academy, paid for it and everything.
You go be a trooper down there? Those Florida troopers are,
No,
Florida
no.
troopers are legit.
Not for $20K a year, no. But decided on the agency I'm at now and then to move to Idaho. And it was a big part of that was a lot of the schooling, where they were going and whatnot. And just the whole, community, as far as, the LGBT, whatever it is. We didn't want our daughter and son to grow up in any of that stuff. If they choose to go down a certain path, that's fine, but let them make their decisions on their own. I don't need the influence from anybody else to try to make them be what they may or may not be. So it just was.
I just don't like, we don't have to popularize and grandize it,
No.
right? Like if that's ends up being a lifestyle they go down, I'm going to be supportive of my kids, right? But it turns out parents just want to have a little bit of say in what their kids are ingesting in a public school.
100%.
That doesn't seem unreasonable to me. There's a lot of other states that are intentionally hiding what their kids are ingesting in school from the parents. Then you're all shocked and surprised when people are like, yeah, F that, I'm out.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. My son would say that they put estrogen in the water over there. He thinks about it all over Washington, but it's weird. I've got a brother that lives near Seattle, and his kids go to a private school. There were 9, and I don't remember what grade, younger than 6th grade. There were 9 trans kids in one class, and I'm like,
At that age,
the average doesn't make sense.
No.
Sure, maybe it happens occasionally, whatever. I'm a fan of letting people live life however they want, but when there's 9 in one class, I'm like, there's outside influence here happening for sure.
Oh, 100%.
That is
You're
weird.
You're popularizing it. And at that age, when you're not even like, sex shouldn't even be
No.
that
Why
should
are we
come
talking
up
about
in
this?
human
Yeah.
growth and development. That's about it. Like that's just purely popularity. And
Right.
because we've emphasized it.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe these kids, maybe the girls are like tomboys. That's what they used to call them when we were kids. That's normal. They generally just grow out of it. And
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it.
Yeah, so that was a big part of it. And then started hunting about 7 years ago, and always come when over here. The wife's cousin lives in Coeur d'Alene, and so I'd go hunting with him. And now it's my go-to. Hunting is my peace time to get away from everything. My wife grew up hunting when she was in Tennessee, so it was
Nice.
It's been a big part of kind of our lives recently, and it's something that I look forward to every year, whether it's turkey hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting. It's something that just being in the woods alone, having that nap under that big tree for 30 minutes, like, I just woke up. Hopefully nothing came by me. Just being out in the woods, it just kind of resets the clock. And so it's helped me a lot, especially with the career that I have. Just trying to get, to be more patient with life and whatnot. It's especially in Northern Idaho, it's definitely a beautiful spot to be. And you can you can go 20 minutes and you're on top of a mountain. So there's something different about Idaho for sure.
So you heard me say it. It sounds like a cheesy line, right? But you can be 20 minutes from downtown Coeur d'Alene with all the craziness that's going on down there, and shows, especially Christmas time. It's pretty cool. Or summertime where it's just busy and bustling. You can also be 20 minutes from nobody. By nobody, I mean F and no buildings, nothing. You can just be up there checking it out. And that's good. It keeps you grounded. I mean, what did Matt say the other day? He's going through all these different supplements. I was like, if somebody's out there and they're looking just kind of start, what supplement would you recommend? He's like, oxygen. Go out and be a part of that. Go experience outside and natural light.
Sunlight. There's another one. He gave us like 4 free options. And we're like, okay.
Get connected with the earth. You know,
literally, when you're taking a nap under the tree, you're grounding. Your body is connected with the earth,
right?
And you're grounding.
Don't
get me going, Eric.
The hippie's coming
up. Here it comes, dude. No, but I honestly think there's something to that, man. Like, there's something electrical or something, but absolutely, you don't have a bad day out there.
There is, and I think a perfect case study. I'm no scientist here, but you look at cities where people never touch the earth, right? They're on concrete, they're on shoes, they're in, and it's all like, it's hard to get fresh air. Sunlight sometimes is hard because there's tall buildings. I bet you if you did a search, and I don't think it's just because they're generally blue cities, but I bet that's where a lot of the weird stuff is starting.
Oh,
like
100%.
The weird, gender. I think it's all coming from that. I think it's creating a mental health crisis because people are not in touch with nature anymore.
Bro, I would love to see a study that just like made me think. See one where. See what the correlation is of the percentage of those people that are in a metropolitan area and not connected at all and have with like mental health prescriptions.
I bet that would be easy to pull up a stat.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, see where like the largest number of people are being prescribed, SSRIs
anti-anxiety.
Or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think a big part of it too is electronics, right? So when we were kids, what did we do? We rode bikes till it was dark. Parents said, be home at dark. Okay, cool. Didn't ask where you were going. You were riding bikes with your buddies.
You know when to be back.
If you weren't, you're going to
Street lights kick on, you get your ass back to the house.
And now it's what? You see maybe 1-2 kids riding bikes.
Yeah.
That's it. They're inside playing video games on their iPads or whatever.
Right.
So I think that's been a huge factor past couple of years is electronics.
Well, it scares me, man. It's the lack of human connection. Right? Even you talk to kids now, it just seems different. I mean, when we were growing up, you were restricted to those 10 or 12 that were close geographically to you, and those were your boys. I mean, that's where all of your entertainment, that's when you were like, for me, I was out like smacking Yellow Jacket freaking nests and, jumping into ponds and like just doing dumb shit. I even threw rocks at cars a couple times, got in some trouble, learned not to do that. That was important. But those are the kids' activities. And even as a society, man, I put a lot of it on adults too. There was a guy that lived behind me that was just nonstop griping at Trent for riding his dirt bike around our yard. It's like, you know what, dude, you're right. You're right. I'm going to tell him to get off that bike and go inside and get in front of a video game. I think that's what we need in society. We need more of our young men sitting in front of a screen playing video games, right? Let's be reasonable about this.
Yeah.
We want kids to be like we were, but we're far less tolerant of kids like we were.
Yeah.
It bugs me.
Yeah, one of the neighborhood that we came from over on the west side, it was awesome. It was about 12 homes, cul-de-sac, dead end. And if it was nice out, the kids were in the cul-de-sac. You let the door open, okay, daughter would run out. I'm going to play. Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So there was probably, I want to say probably 8 to 10 kids, roughly all the same age. So they would just play out for hours. And they knew the doors were open. So if they needed something, they could go into one of the houses and say, hey, this is what's going on. More than times than not, there was a parent out there just kind of overseeing stuff. But, especially during the summer when everybody was out mowing lawns or whatever, kids were just filled in the cul-de-sac playing till literally it got darker. You had to drag them inside. So it was nice to see, but you don't see that very often anymore.
Right. I think you will. I mean, when you guys moved in, wait till spring and summer.
It's a lot more common over here than other places. All these neighborhoods up here, there's tons of kids out.
Yeah, because yours isn't a cul-de-sac, but it's pretty damn close.
It's a mini cul-de-sac.
Yeah, there's no through streets. It's all residences. But my girls were the same way. We had the cul-de-sac out in Hauser, and we were lucky there early. And all the younger families have kind of been bought out, and it changed a little bit. It's still a great neighborhood, but those kids were like a gang. Mm-hmm. They were just out there, dude, getting it. And they knew every neighbor where they could score chips, where they could score soda, where they could get something sweet. They were little racketeers, dude. Like, they knew exactly where to get all their stuff. It was a lot of fun.
That creative play is so important, dude. It teaches so many lessons you don't get.
Oh, 100%.
You know, even when the kids, my son has tried this, he's like, well, when I'm playing video games online, I'm talking to my friends. I'm like, yeah. Okay, there's a little bit there, but it's not the same.
Sometimes the creativity is just really, really close to just full-blown retardation.
Yeah,
for example.
It is. Yeah, the screaming and the dumb noises they make,
Well, when they have dirt bikes and they decide they're going to play tag on dirt bikes chasing each other.
It's like you got to learn that lesson, right?
Oh, Trent comes in, he's like, man, my back. He pulls his shirt up, and there's just tire tread up his back, like a bruise that just shows tire tread. It's like, what were you guys? We were playing tag. It's like, what happened? Oh, you got close, and I flipped off, and then the guy behind him ran me over, and I was like, oh, God, this is whatever. It's fine. It's fine. You should break something in your youth. That's totally okay. Has it been a big difference moving from West Side over here?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
We made the comment when we were looking for houses. I'm like, why is everybody waving to us? This is weird.
Yeah.
Over on the west side, the only time you waved is if you knew the person.
Yeah.
Right? And over here, everybody just kind of waves to you.
Yeah.
And we were kind of shocked. I'm like, why are they waving?
I told you, dude.
And we had our first HOA meeting, I don't know, a couple months ago. And come to find out, there was, I think, 3 or 4 retired law enforcement in there. And then there's a Cooten County guy.
Nice.
And I stood up and like, hey, just so you know, if you hear sirens in the neighborhood, it's probably me leaving for work. My kids like it. And then everybody looked at me, oh, that's awesome. So happy you're in our neighborhood. Somebody came up to me like, oh, I love having your cop car out front. It deters stuff. I'm like, we're in Idaho. I don't know that it deters a lot, but yeah.
Well, you can be proud of that here. Dude, on that side,
do that other states.
You'd be nervous about having your cop car out front.
A story for that, my old house, we had take-home cars, and I was going home one afternoon. The city that we lived in had chased a guy, got in a foot chase, lost him. We had a perimeter set up. We're on the perimeter for about an hour, couldn't find him. It's like, all right, I'm going home. Went home, got undressed, and I get a knock on the door. Well, that's weird. I'm not expecting anybody. Check the camera. It's a guy with no shirt who's all cut up and just sweating. And I look at it. It's a guy we were chasing.
No way.
He's on my front porch. And so I grabbed my gun. At the time, I think my son was 2 months old, 3 months old. So I left him in his crib, and I ran out there and like, who the fuck what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I was all out of breath. I'm like, are you so-and-so? Yeah. I'm like, why are you at my house? And he's like, oh, I saw the cop car, so I figured I'd come. Wow. And it's just, you just have that gut wrenching, like, oh my, this guy knows where I live now.
That's terrible. Right.
And so, got on the phone, called him, and they got there and took him into custody or whatever. But just from that moment on, you're always looking out the window. It was weird.
Yeah.
It was a weird feeling.
Yeah, it sucks. A lot different here. How is it, because this will apply for a lot of folks that are looking to do that. You still work, we don't talk about agency, but you still work in Washington but live in Idaho.
Correct.
How's that?
It's good. We're allowed to live 30 miles from the state line. There's cool. A lot of
I see cars everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of officers that live in Idaho. I think a lot of it has to do with just being free. Right?
Yeah. There's
so many restrictions in Washington State for any, whether it's hunting, whether it's gas, whether it's taxes. And Idaho, it feels better. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, I'm a police officer, and I tend to carry when I'm off duty. Over on the west side, you feel like you had to.
Yeah.
Over here, I'm like, oh, I forgot my gun. Oh, so whatever.
Yeah, you're like, there's 10 soccer moms wherever I go that have guns too.
Exactly.
Like,
right. So it just, you feel safer, you feel comfortable. And if you have a gun, people don't look at you crazy like they do on the west side. Oh, that guy's got a gun. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Over here, it's like, oh, cool. What's up, man? How's it going? It's just different.
I tell people all the time, you can wear pro law enforcement shirts.
Yes.
Pro military shirts. People will be like, oh, what's up?
Yeah. And they actually like you.
Yes.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh, yeah, I retired out of wherever. Yeah.
That's accurate.
Yeah. You don't get the single wave. You get the actual wave.
Yeah.
They don't flip you off. So
Yep.
What made you stay on the Washington side for law enforcement?
So I considered going to Kootenai County, but just being fully invested in my retirement. I've got 13 years in Washington, so another 8 or so before I hit that 20-year mark. And then just the pay.
Yeah.
Just taking that huge pay cut coming to Idaho would have been hard. So pay had a lot to do with it, and then retirement, I didn't really want to start all the way over.
Man, you can retire faster there. Like that.
Yeah.
That is the thing, and I'll be candid about it. We lost one of the best cops I've ever been around, and Paulie knows what's up if he listens to this. But just an absolute stud. But he was older. This was like second. He was he did some contractor work, did some special forces stuff. He's just a stud. But yeah, he's over there now. Yeah. I mean, it was
Makes
a fact.
sense, huh?
Dude, he broke it down. He's just like, man, I can go bust my ass for this amount of time, and I'm done. I get it.
Yeah.
I've always said Idaho, if I had stayed, I would have started lobbying more down south. There has to be a 20-year retirement option. Yeah. I mean, people break after that. You know what I mean? People break before that, but
yeah, it's your top 5 highest paid years.
Yeah.
Towards essentially your retirement, but it doesn't roll over. You can't transfer it to a different state.
No.
So it's Washington only.
That
so that was hard, right? So being fully invested in that, I'm like, well, it's just going to sit there and I'm not going to touch it. And then I got to do another 20, 30 somewhere else. And we were talking about this the other day, like what's life after law enforcement? And so, it's kind of getting close to where either you need to stick it out for at least 30 or find something new.
Yeah.
And so
30 is so long.
Yeah.
I know tons of guys out here that have done it. I mean, we've
Yeah.
bumped into guys all the time that have done 30 or more. And, but man, even you look at military, it's like you can do 20 years and retire. Like, why is that not more of an option?
And you've heard me say it, man. There's been some wild stuff in the military that, kind of surrounded my career. I can tell you that I think law enforcement ages you more than that does.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder when you're in the military and you're in theater. There's rules of engagement over there, but you're there, right? And you get to leave that there. I mean, it stays with you, not to downplay PTSD.
But I think what you're saying, like when you're there, your mindset is switched on.
Yeah.
But as a cop, you just never know.
That guy showed up at your doorstep, bro. You walk through
Right.
Walmart and you see these a-holes that you're dealing with on
Or
patrol.
you make 100 traffic stops that are completely normal. Right. And then
There's that one.
it's like hard to.
It's funny because like when I'm at home and the wife's made a few comments, she's like, your senses are just. Did you even see what happened? Oh no, I'm just kind of in my own area. But as soon as I walk outside or we're at the store, I'm back up to where I am when I'm working. I'm like, okay, where's the exits? You're walking around me. Why are you walking me so close? Where's your hands?
Right.
So do you really come down? Not really.
No.
You kind of zone out a little bit, but it's what our life expectancy is when we hit 55, we kick the bucket.
Yeah.
So it's going, working nights the vast majority of my career. Really starting to think, what's outside this career?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What's next?
Switching a day shift after working nights forever, or even swing shift, was like the best thing ever for me.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you're like, I'm a real person.
I was the same way, man. I'll bet if I went back and calculated 6 or 7 years out of 12, I was on nights.
Yeah.
Especially when I promoted, even though like I was lucky enough to finish on the top of the list, so I got to pick, but I felt it was an obligation.
Yep.
Like I need to work graves. I need to cut my teeth on graves.
Yeah,
right.
It's a different game, dude. For
Yeah.
sure.
It's a whole different ball game.
It's the most fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
You get the better calls.
Well, the city's yours. Like it's
yeah.
yours. Like that was the fun part about being a sergeant. It was like this is our squad, and we're out. We don't have to worry about anybody else on the radio. Let's just.
And if you wanted to chase, you went to graves.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It is more fun. It's just bad for you.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah, because I would work, and our kids were really young at the time, so I'd get off, and I would just immediately on my days off just switch back to a day shift, for the kids, and I was just grumpy all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I felt like dog shit
It's
all
hard.
the time.
Yeah.
All the
Very
time.
hard.
Yeah.
I've tried so many different methods to do that too. It's like, all right, I'm just going to stay up on my last day. I'm just going to stay up, power through, and then go to sleep at night. And then you still wake up feeling like shit. And then, or I'm going to go home and get a nap, and then I'm going to get up, and then I'm going to try to go back to, oh, dude, it just
you hit that wall
all the time, dude.
Yeah.
You know, oftentimes you say, oh, I hit that wall. People don't understand. Like, you hit a wall, and your body just shuts down.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Slamming caffeine, and
no matter how many rock stars you pour into it, dude, your body, and that's bad for you too.
I got frustrated with drinking too many energy drinks, so then I was like, I'm gonna try caffeine pills. There's like nothing in them. So then I got to a point where I was taking like 600 milligrams a day in caffeine pills, and I was like, basically a fucking tweaker. I'm like, this is bad. This is bad. I gotta get off that.
Yeah,
license and registration.
Yeah,
I'm like, I wonder if I crush them out.
Your eyes are pinpoint right now. Are you on amphetamines? And you're like, ding.
Yeah. If I crush them up and snort them, will they hit me faster? Like,
did you remember those stacker threes, like the ephedrine when that was a thing? Gosh, stuff was so awesome.
Yeah,
it 100% was amphetamines, but it was awesome.
What I didn't have back then was testosterone, and I think that might have been a game changer for me, to getting on the tee, but it wasn't an option. No.
Crazy.
How's it work for taxes when you work in Washington?
So you got to pay Idaho. I just actually did them
both.
So you got to pay the Idaho state, income, and then you're paying, obviously, when you get your paycheck through Washington, you pay the Washington whatever.
Okay.
It wasn't as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. So it all worked out. So it on the first couple of paychecks, you kind of like, ooh, that's a little bit of a hit, but you get used to it. It's nothing drastic.
I had a few people ask me about that, and I was wondering.
Yeah, because on the west side, I was, 1 year I was at like 140, and then like 125, and then over here I'm back down to like 114 with incentives and whatnot. And then obviously moving to Idaho, they take out the state income tax or whatnot, and people are like, you kind of see it and you don't see it, but look at gas, right? I can fill up my diesel truck for $80 instead of $130.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of rolls together. So
where it's still, it kind of balances out. Yeah. I did that on one podcast where I broke down the individual tax burden, even with the state income tax. Idaho's ranked 10th, one being the best. Idaho's ranked 10th. Washington's 45th. So you can say state income tax, and that's not even getting into the creative taxation. Yeah. Like, what did it cost to register your truck?
I paid $270, but I got the 2 year?
Yeah, for 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. In comparison to Washington, where they just hammer you on vehicles.
Yeah, it depends on what county and city you're in. Where my parents live over there, they were paying like $400, and then I paid $120. So it just depends on where you are.
Yeah.
But also over here, you get the specialty. I got the elk plate or whatever, so it's a little bit more.
Yep.
Yeah. But the whole black plate, that was like $300, $400.
Was it really?
Like, what the?
I know. I want to get the don't tread on me plate, but we'll see how it goes. How is it on the politically? Is the west or east side? Are you more proactive there than you were on the west side, or policies wise, or does that kind of hold for the whole state?
It really depends on where you work. The west side, I think I was more proactive. We were way busier. I mean, we're talking, especially with the county I was at, a deputy would have 20, 30, 40 calls by himself.
Dude.
And over here, I may not even get a call in my district.
Oh, really?
So it's drastically slower. Things do happen, and you just kind of got to adjust. You got to really dig to go find them. But it all kind of comes down to, what the command staff allows you to do. And when, I keep bringing it back to pursuits, but that's a big topic, right? Being proactive, you're going to get in pursuits. You're going to get in use of forces.
Yeah.
As long as you're doing the things, doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons, what's the problem?
Right.
You gotta give us a chance to go get the guys. If you want to terminate it, okay, fine, but give us a couple minutes to set up some kind of game plan.
Yeah.
Whether that's they're setting up spikes or we pit them, as quickly as they can, or if our helicopter's up, let the helicopter follow them or whatnot. So it's tough, right? I'm wired differently than a lot of people, and when somebody runs, I'm like, oh, I want to go get them.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get away.
I don't think that's different. That's rabbit runs, we chase it.
So it just depends on where you are. For the vast part of it, most of the supervisors that I've ever worked for have been super supportive, and so it's nice to have that support. And look at the whole body cam thing, right? Why did we get body cams? It was to see if we were violating policy. That was it. Mm-hmm. People wanted transparency. Well, that's great, but now we can't use them in court. So
you can't use body cams in court?
No, they get tossed. So the only thing they use them for is policy violations. It's not admissible, just like a PBT.
In Washington State, body cam footage is not admissible.
They will throw it out in the 3-5 or 3-1 hearing. So
why?
That makes total sense.
I gotta know.
If you asked any citizen on the street, is this reasonable? They'd be like, no.
No.
Why would you not have
they
that
still
in there?
pass it. It's the way that they sell it.
It's not like there's emotion. It's a freaking camera. Like,
yeah.
Oh, it'd be prejudicial and biased to my client. Oh, because they were an asshole?
You're right.
Yeah.
I can't even think of any viable reason.
And then you look at the side, we're holding us accountable, right? It's good, especially if people are complaining. Well, just pull up the body cam and look at it.
Yeah.
That we're finding that county deputies are a little bit different than city cops.
That's true.
You oftentimes you're by yourself, and if somebody's motherfucking you, guess what you're gonna do?
Yep.
You're gonna motherfuck them back. You're gonna chew them out. Do what you're gonna have to do what you need to do. And then we're finding that we were escalating things a little bit just with how we were acting, and so it's kind of a reality check, right? Like, ooh, I probably shouldn't have had my tone that way to start. But yeah, it's weird how having a body camera now, a lot of it's just getting tossed.
That's wild. Because I honestly, I liked them. I started working at county before we had body cameras. They got them while I was there, and a lot of the guys felt a certain way about it. I loved them because once I got used to it, I'd ham it up. Especially if it was on like a proactive stop. Man, it's great. You get admissions. They're
great
freaking
to have,
awesome.
especially for like DUIs.
Yeah.
When you got to go back and look at all the steps
on how drunk they are.
I never wore a body camera. They have them now, but we had dash cams and then a audio recorder on our person. But it sucked because you missed a lot of it. Like we would never. You don't do a DUI in between the two vehicles, right? That's how you lose your legs. Yeah. So we were almost always off camera. It's like,
yeah, that's how we had in Georgia. We had the mics and then the dash cams. So on DUIs, we would hold up the mic. Stepped up on one, stepped up on two, just so we could go back and make sure we had it correct in our report. But yeah, it's crazy to see everybody wanted this push for cameras, and then now they just toss them out. So it's like,
wow, my goodness.
Yeah. It still is weird to me, man. Like when I cross that state line, it just feels completely different. It seems like the bad guys that are on that side are afraid to come to Idaho.
Oh, 100%, because they know. Well, State Patrol for over there just had a pursuit going to Idaho. What did they turn around and went back towards Washington?
Really?
Wow.
They're like, oh shit! I better get back to base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of pursuits that we start that go into Idaho and we get terminated just partly because Kootenai County or Post Falls isn't close to hand it over, and then that being we're in a different state, so we're going to get held to that standard versus Washington standard, which I'd rather be in Idaho than Washington.
Yeah.
But it's still tough. Like we talked about before, having resources set in place to end a pursuit. Oftentimes, Kootenai County's kind of doing their own thing, and I think there's only one ISP trooper at night in the area, so it's tough for him or her to get over there. But it's even Post Falls, when they chase people into Washington, we'll try to stop them, and they're like, oh no, we'll just write a warrant. I'm like, you guys were just chasing this dude. Go write an arrest warrant. We'll arrest him, and then you guys just bring your bus over and get him, and we'll be done.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh no.
Yeah.
So it's weird.
It is.
Is there have you noticed a difference in morale from say west side to east side on the Washington side on the officers?
I think like I said, it all comes down to the command staff and how things are going. The grass isn't always green on the other side, but I'd say when the shift changes between the command, when things start to kind of change, that's when you start seeing officers jump ship when they don't feel supported, when people are getting written up for stupid things, not even being asked, well, why did you do that? They just get handed their slip. So it's tough. I'll never forget when I was with Kirkland, we had this, I came out as a DV weapon call. I was the first one there, and I see dude literally playing with his gun on his hood of his car. I'm like, oh, here we go. Waited for backup. We ended up getting him in custody, interviewed him while he was showing me messages from him and his girl. And so then I go to where the female victim was, and she's telling me this whole story. Well, I caught her in a lie. Because I had the picture messages from her, and I said, "Can you tell me again what happened?" So she tells me, I'm like, "You're lying." Well, what do you mean? What if I told you I had pictures of what you said to him? You know, and she just was like, "Oh, why you call me a liar?" I'm like, "Because you are lying to me. Do you know that it's a crime to lie to a law enforcement officer?" And so I let my partner kind of deal with it, and when I'm on my way, did the report, yada, yada. Fast forward a couple months, I get called into the captain's office. Got a write-up because I called a DV victim a liar, even though I had all the proof that she lied. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm leaving the spot.
Right.
You know, I just never felt supported from that point on. And I essentially kind of felt like people were always watching me, what I was doing. Because, I've always been proactive, right? I want to go out and do stuff. And so that was the kicker.
I always got frustrated when it seems like they just got detached from patrol, when you get so far removed. And we talk about the same with judges too, right? But where it just seems like they got so far removed, they don't remember what it was like there. With body cameras, I've seen this recently where we were fanging cops for getting out on a pretty tense and rapidly evolving circumstance and not activating their body camera. Yeah. Because ours, you got to push them. Yep. Dude, do you think that's high up on his list of priorities when he's watching hands or a bad guy that he just pursued and now he's getting out? Like, that's completely understandable when you consider force science ramifications. But you're going to actively go after and fang and write up and do an investigation on an officer because he fails to activate his body-worn camera?
Yeah, that's a big issue.
That's ridiculous. Like, that to me is completely unacceptable. If you have a same officer and it's like routine, you're getting complaints and, I don't have body camera, address that individually. Yeah. But somebody bumping out of a car, undoing their seatbelt, racking their rifle, doing all the other things that you're going to do in one of those, and they forget to bump their, who cares? Yeah. You know what I mean? You can even go back and get video, even if it's not activated. You just won't get the audio. It's just reminds me how
the days of taking the word of the police officer are gone.
Oh, yeah.
It's just straight to the body camera.
That's true.
Are those cameras, so they record all the time?
Yeah, you can put them in sleep mode, so they won't record until you hit the on button. But if it's just ready, it's recording, and it'll go back 30 seconds.
Okay.
So if you're in the bathroom and then all of a sudden you get a hot call and hit it.
Yeah, 30 seconds. I've had that happen, dude. In court, actually. I was like, oh, great. Yep, that was me peeing. Yep. There we go.
I'm just thinking of shenanigans, in graveyards.
Oh, yeah.
There's always.
Like, I wonder if this bullet will penetrate a vehicle code. I'm like, well, let's go find out.
Yeah, we did some. Yeah. Maybe not quite like that. That sounds pretty aggressive, but it was good.
This is a safe location.
Trooper's gonna troop, right?
Yeah.
Then you talk to the old timers at the office I worked at, and they used to go out on the levee and shoot rats because it was all rice paddies out there. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But I was like, you know what? We go do that. It's gonna be some fish and game dude's gonna be hiding, waiting. As soon as you hit the spotlight and fire around, you're like, fuck.
Yes, this
is gonna be bad.
You killed and endangered. This is some transgender hermaphroditic rat that now can no longer spawn, and you get in trouble.
Yeah. Yep. No. Well, dude, this is good information. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for carrying the torch.
Like I said, I know that's a lot of interest when people are considering coming out here. Yes. There are a fair number that still stay in Washington. I call them mercenaries, right? Come back over to Idaho, the sanctuary of sanity, and then you go murk out over in Washington. But no, there are options.
Yes.
There are options on both sides. Yeah. And you're right. No, neither's perfect. Two of the guys I went to the academy with, two of my best friends, are both where you are. Mm-hmm. And that was their call, and it was overall competent. What's best for them and their family. Yeah. Still doing the job and staying in the line.
You got to factor all that in, and keep chasing at night, bro. We appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll do my best.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Later, guys.
Thank you.